Honestly, when you ask God for something, He comes through. Hey guys, welcome to God Conversations. How are you doing? How are you doing? How are you doing? Alrighty, welcome to God Conversations, episode 19. As you know, it's your girl Peggy. And here on God Conversations, we are all about building a community of believers who are God-centered, right? We bring you conversations that help help you and show you how to put God at the center of everything that you do. Here on God Conversations, we're all about real talk, right? That's what we talk about our faith. We talk about real life. We talk about things that are happening in our day to day, and we will talk about real faith, right? Where we're actually showing you and telling you of what our faith walk is like. And today, we're going to be having a great conversation on the series we have been having called Intimacy with God. So we've been having the series Intimacy with God for about, I think, for about a month, 2 months now. And today we're going to be capping it off. We're going to be actually closing that conversation up. And I'm excited because in order to close that conversation up or the series up, I'm being joined by one of my favorite persons right now in this season. And her name is Ananike Gordons, Mrs. Ananike Gordons. I call her Cuz. So Cuz, what's up? How you doing?
How you doing, everybody? How you doing, Peggy? I'm so excited to be here. I'm
Yeah,
excited. I'm
yeah,
ready. Are you
yeah.
ready?
I am. I am ready. Right. I remember when we started this conversation, I said, "Oh God, I don't want to do another church. Just wanted to just talk and just you know, just ask ourselves questions about how we're doing. Because as you know, in the past couple months, we've really been talking about intimacy with God. We've explored, our journey to intimacy with God, how we started this journey, what the journey has been like. We've talked about how to build intimacy with God. We've talked about, the fear of God that we spent days having conversation on, and just recapping what that really means in our, day to day life. And today, right, we are actually going to be capping off that series of intimacy with God by talking about the testimonies that result from the intimacy with God. But before we go there, because I know that we can actually dive straight in. I wanted us to recap some of the things that we've talked about for those of us who did not join, have not watched the previous series, or have not had time to go back and watch the previous series. I wanted us to kind of touch on those topics, on those conversations we've had, so we can bring them to our topic for today. Make sense?
Makes sense
You
to
ready?
me.
Makes sense? Alrighty. So, conversation we've been having on intimacy with God really started with, what does intimacy with God mean to you? And since we started having that conversation, has that changed?
Of course. To answer the first part of that question, what is it? That's that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say, of course, it changes, especially when someone starts throwing questions and you start thinking about it. You start pondering, how
Mm,
can I make it better? Right?
mm,
There's always room for improvement. And I'm quite sure that even with you all coming up with the topics that you discuss,
mhm,
you too begin to say, hey, I need to fix this. I need to tweak this. It's not even
mhm,
saying that you're doing something wrong, but
mhm,
maybe you could just do a little bit more.
hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. Makes sense. I remember when we started, you said it'd be bad for someone to say no, it has not changed. I'm gonna put you out there. You're like, come on, we can't say no. We can actually say, of course, because every day, day after day, we are growing in our intimacy with God. And I think for me, intimacy with God means just developing that relationship, that deep connection, deep relationship with God as your only one, right? As the only one that you depend on. And since the last time, or since the conversations we've been having on intimacy with God, I have really been evaluating my intimacy with God and have really been challenged, right, to grow, to remain consistent in that walk, in my journey, in building that relationship with God, in really waking up in the morning and saying, okay, I want to spend time with you. Even if I'm like, "God, we don't know what to pray about today, man. I want to pray for everybody else, but I don't feel like just going to you and praying because I really just want to be with you. To, during the day, I'm like, help me, God, you know, singing a worship song, or just pause and taking 5 minutes in between my day to just remember that I have a father who owns everything and who can guide me through everything. So mine has really improved and it's still improving.
Peggy, can I give you an example?
Yeah, absolutely.
And like I said, I don't know who's out there that's probably gonna laugh at this or
Mm-hmm.
maybe gonna agree, but I just began to say, you know what, I really need to get on my knees and pray.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can lay down and pray all day, but then I'm like, I don't know if I'm falling asleep and then waking up. Like, Jesus, am I
Yeah.
falling asleep praying? So I was
Mm-hmm.
like, Edward, I just want to, I got to get on my knees
Mm-hmm.
because I think that I'm falling asleep and don't even know, right? Like falling asleep praying. So
Mm-hmm.
those little things, right? I don't know what posture you take or whatever, but for a while, I'm like, oh, I can pray right here. But then I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, you know what? I'm gonna pray on my knees. You know why? Because that pillow and the blanket is holding me so tight and it's distracting me. And I believe that I'm dozing off because I don't even remember, right? So
Yes.
these are little things that she's talking about. This is
Mm-hmm.
not like something that's like so out of the blue. It's those things that you can tweak to make your
Mm-hmm.
relationship better.
Yes. Yeah. I think for me, something that has been happening of recent, and this is not for everybody, right? This is not for everyone. This is my walk with God. And that's why it's good to build a relationship with God because God understands you. Is when I wake up and I don't pray. Like for the past, it's been consistent. Prior to that, I'm like, but right now, when I wake up, I don't spend time, not just pray on the go. If I don't spend time, even if I doze off, just saying, Father, it's me and you this morning. During the day, I feel anxious. I'm like, oh God, I didn't pray. Now, someone will be like, you should be okay because God is everywhere. But it's for me, it's more like I really haven't spoken to the one who owns my day, who will tell me what's going to happen during my day. So everything is just happening, and I feel like I need to go and talk to him because when I talk to him, I'm assured that everything is going to be fine. Does that make sense to you?
But yeah,
So when I have that during the day, I'm like, I literally need to stop everything and just be like, okay, God, I know you're here. I know I have you. I thank you because the thoughts you have for me are thoughts of good and not of evil to bring me. I do those prayers that act as security for me, like anchor for my day. And when I do that, then I can breathe. Something just comes over, takes over my day, and I'm not anxious anymore. Right.
but I think that's because the seed that you have taken and planted in that relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
And nurturing it, building it, like watering it and everything. So that one day that you don't water it, you feel all dry,
Mm.
dried up, and you like, I gotta go and taste and see. I gotta
Mm-hmm.
have that because
Yeah.
that's what refreshes me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what works for you. Everyone will have what works for them. That's how that's like God is so amazing that we all are custom made,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Absolutely.
tailor made. That's the kind of God we serve, right?
Custom made, and
Yeah.
he has the way he deals with us. It's just like you have kids and then you kids, so get unique personalities and how you approach them individually, because you can't come at this one the same way you come at the other one. They're very unique in their personalities, and that's how God really deals with us. So for anyone who's just joining us, we are recapping the series Intimacy with God. We've been talking about intimacy with God, and we are bringing that series to an end. And we just wanted to touch on some of the things that we really highlighted during those conversations and those episodes, and taking it from there to our main discussion for today. So, why is intimacy with God important?
Well, I think that it's important because this is how we begin to develop our relationship with the Lord, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is how we go deeper and deeper and deeper. We
Mm-hmm.
strengthen our faith, our trust in Him. It begins to transform how we think, the way that we see things. It's just like we embrace him. I think it's like a baby, right? When you
Mm-hmm.
begin to develop, you know how the Bible talks about, you being on baby food and then you graduate to like maturity, right? So it's
Yes.
just like the more mature I become, the more I
Mm-hmm.
begin to dig in, the more more I seek his face, the more fulfilled that I become, the more peace that I have, the more joy that I have, the
Mm-hmm.
more purposeful, you
Yeah.
know, that I am because of the I am.
Mm. Mm. Absolutely. You're correct.
But what about you? What do you think? What do you think?
I read somewhere because when I was just asking that question, I was like, I don't just want to give generic answers for myself. Is the fact that we were made for relation, we were built for relationship with God. God made us in his image, in his likeness, so that he can have that communion with us.
I love
Like
it. Mm-mm.
we were made for relationship with God. So it's important that if it's just like being married to your husband and decide that you wake up in the morning, you ain't gonna talk to him. You're crazy. You know that kind of stuff. You decide that, oh, today I'm not gonna say a word to him. I'm just gonna go about my day, come back, be like, deuces, go to bed. It's that way. We were made for God. We were created in his image and his likeness, and we're made for him. So how can I go about my day without talking about or talking to the one that made me, right? The one I was created for. How?
I
Like,
don't think you can.
since we started this series, something has been changing in the fact that I'm like, I really cannot afford to wake up in the morning and not sit down and talk to my maker, my father, the one who owns everything. So it is important because when you have that communion with him, he guides your day, right? He helps you go through your day. He teaches you the things you're supposed to know. He shows you the places you're supposed to go. He tells you the things you're supposed to say. He directs you to the things you're supposed to read, to how you're supposed to do stuff. Like literally, that's why it's important. You need him to go through the day.
Well, I want to say this because you said everybody out there, she said we're not going to get preachy, but I'm here to tell you. Okay. I'm here to tell you, he is the best man to have on your team. One
Yes.
thing that I know, there's a song that I love. It's called To Worship You, I Live. I live
Mhm.
to worship you. One of my favorite go-to songs. Okay. But let me tell you about the Lord. See, he won't lie to you. He won't hurt you. He
Mhm.
wants the best for you. How do I know he wants the best for you? I'm going to tell you why. Because Jeremiah 29:11 tells me so, right?
Mm.
Whatever I say, the word can be supported. I can support the word with the word. It says that I have plans for you. He don't say that he had any type of plans. He says plans that will give you a hope in the future. God is so amazing that he sees you as a finished product. That is that
Mhm.
product that he has destined you to be. Whether you're doing this or that, God sees you the way that he has created you. He even said that you are his masterpiece. Hello,
Yeah.
somebody.
Ooh, look at
You
that.
are his.
Amen.
I'm getting goosebumps over here. I'm not going to preach, but I'm here to tell you, you are his masterpiece.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
how can't you say, God, I give you this day.
Mm.
I thank you for my breath. I thank you for the air that I breathe. God, show me. I'm not perfect, but if you just show me. You said if I would trust you, you would direct me. That's the
Mhm.
kind of God that we serve. He said,
Yeah.
and if you don't even got it all together, if you
Mm.
don't know, you can just ask me for wisdom. You can
And
ask me, I'll
humble.
give it to you. He
Yeah.
says, I'll even go before you. I'll go with you. And there's
Mm.
another scripture that say, if you mess it up, he'll go behind you. What?
Absolutely.
How can you not say good morning? Right? Yeah, of course. If you forget to say good morning, I understand why your day is all confused. because you forgot to meet Jamaica that morning. You forgot to
Yeah.
say good morning, Daddy. How are you? Right?
Oh, yeah. Hmm. So
I'm done. I'm done. I
I
want to
know
give
I'm
Daddy back
giving
to
you that
himself.
room to preach, you know. But that's the goal. The goal is to highlight the importance, right? And the benefits of just having this intimacy with God. Because if you're not having this intimacy with God, you are missing. You are missing a lot. You are missing a lot. There's a song that says, "When peace like a river attended us," right? When sorrow like sea billows roll. And I say it is well. It comes from an assurance that comes from a place of intimacy with God. Because when you have that, nothing moves you. It might shake, it might cause wind to blow, and I call it the fakeness of reality, because it comes and it makes you feel like the whole world is about to explode before you, and you're just like, wait, I have a God who actually owns all of these things, who can just do this and everything. So you know what, I'll run to him, and I'll stay with him, and I'll run to the Lord who is my anchor, and he actually holds on to me. So okay, we're not going to preach. We promised
I mean,
ourselves we
because
ain't
he also said that you can look to the mountain and know.
but I'm God. Like we said, we're not going to preach today. Anyway, so why is it important that you have a relationship with God? Is you are made for a relationship with Him, and without Him, you will just exist. You won't leave. There's a difference. You will just be in existence. You're not leaving. Like you are empty. You still look for that thing,
You
and
have a
that thing
void.
is Jesus.
They
That
will
thing is
always have that
Jesus.
void.
You will. You will always, exactly. You always have that void, right? Second Corinthians 3:8 says that when we behold Jesus with the eyes of faith, we are transformed. We become more like Him from one degree of glory to another. That is progressively over time as we behold Him more and more. So the goal is that since we are made in human body, in flesh, and everything, the more we behold Jesus, the more we become like Him.
That's right.
The more we take on the character of Jesus, the more we take on the person of Jesus, the more we take on the heart, the soul, the mind, everything. And, that wickedness that's inside of us, because all of us have that streak of, if not for God, I will deal with you.
Thank God for Jesus.
Thank God for Jesus. If for him, I'm gonna deal with you, right? That's what it means to become more like Him, because you're letting go of, I would have dealt with you too if not for God. I thank you that I have God in my life. All right, so um, how do we build intimacy with God? Quickly, how do we build this intimacy with God? And I know we've talked about this. We're just recapping for people who are probably going to watch this again and will not have time to go back to the other videos. How do we build this intimacy with God?
So I just want to say it's really simple. Communicate with Him, talk to
Mhm.
Him, study His Word, worship.
Mm.
I'm trying to get it out there really quickly. It's not that difficult. If you're someone who don't maybe like to read, now they have AI that'll read to you, right? Or
Mhm.
in your cell phone, you can play the Bible app, YouVersion. There's so many of them. Bible Gateway. Take time to study your word, know your word. Know
Exactly.
God for yourself. Sorry. Know
Yes.
God for yourself.
Know God for yourself. Absolutely. Know God for yourself. And just go to Him. Don't fake it. I think people, this something has been happening to me recently. I think I wake up in the morning and I'm like, oh, what do I pray about? It's not that I don't have things to pray about. There's a difference. It's not that I cannot say, oh God, bless my day, bless my car, bless my children, bless my dog, bless my father, bless my mom, bless cuz, bless Pastor Gladys. It's not that I can't do that. But a relationship with someone is you first acknowledge the person. Like it's intimacy. You don't just wake up in the morning and be like, all right, this is where we're going to go. This is what we're going to do. No, 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 no. You're first like, hi, how are you? Like am I making sense? That's what it feels like me. So of recent, I'm just like, first of all, I just want to acknowledge you. Like, I want to thank you for the things you've done, for the things you're doing. And I spend that few time sometimes just staying quiet and just meditating on the goodness of God. And then I go into gradually praising him. And then while doing all of that, my thoughts are going to my day, what my day looks like, and what I want, how my day would go, and I'm just handing it over to his hands. And then my mind is going to the people I want to pray for and people I want to pray with, the people I have to talk to, and I pray about them. I pray about my job. But the first thing first, because some people just start liba hado we cast down by, and I'm like, yo, you don't even listen to him. You get what I'm saying? And sometimes I'm like, God, are you here? And he will do something to make you know that he's there. So he's not looking for perfect Miss Peggy or perfect Miss Cuz, and then he can. No, he's just looking for you to first come and just be with him. I remember asking the Lord, like, really, what am I supposed to do when I come? Because I know they'll say, oh, speak in tongues for 15 minutes. I'm like, it's good, it's a great idea. And he says, just talk to me as you talk to a friend, a father. Just talk to me. And so it's changed the way. So I wake up in the morning, I'm like, hey, morning. I'm in my bed. I'm still rolling out of my bed because literally I do my devotions on the floor. Don't do it on my bed. If I stay on my bed, I crash. So I roll off on the floor. And that's where I do, because then I feel like it's just me of submitting to him. So for you, it's what is an example of how you do your mornings or how you spend that intimate time with God? What does that look like?
So I also say good morning, Holy Spirit,
Mm,
right?
mm,
And I am a person that asks questions, and I'm like, God, what you want me to do? All right. Look, I'll even be like, God, I don't want to be frustrated. I just need you to tell me what to do. Make it real clear and easy so I don't have to figure out too much stuff.
mm-hmm,
Show me, I really trust you and I just need your help. I'm committing this day to your hand. I'm committing this classroom, these co-workers, and
mm-hmm.
all to your hand. What do I need to do? What do I need to put on? Do I wear perfume or not? Like which one do I put on? I needed to be that detailed because of the environment that I work in.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes certain scents can trigger children's behavior. So like I have to like literally ask. I do also do, but I do the morning devotion that with the church prayer line. I also do my own thing. I
Wow.
even pray when I'm driving. I listen to worship music,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of times I'm just like sensing and waiting on direction or
Yeah.
or an answer or like no, don't do this.
Mm-hmm.
It can even be like, don't take that first break, just take one break, because sometimes God will remove me from out of situations I don't need to be in.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I just fully like, I know that it sounds so basic, but I just like really be like, God, like I need your help. I don't want to be frustrated. I just that's just how I say it. And I know that
Yeah.
people probably are expecting, some ribbons and confetti. I don't know. I just be like, God, I don't want to be frustrated. Can you make this easy for me? I even asked him to help me know how to talk to my kids and hear what they have to say. Help me not to cut them off. Help me to be able to hear what my husband. I need all kind of guidance. Okay, so I be asking the Lord for help. Help me not to say nothing because sometimes I'm just like, but I'm.
Which I love that you're literally inviting me to every aspect of your life. And that's what it's supposed to be. That's what I think when we were doing the Women of Purpose review of the book, someone says, I don't say a word until I've read the word.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think there was a way she put it. And basically she was saying, I don't speak to no one. I literally will not do anything until I've spoken to God. And that's what it should be for you, day after day, morning after morning. You're really, just asking God for what he wants to do and how he wants to do it, with who, especially through. For me, I have to ask God to help me with my tone when I'm at work. That's something, so that I don't I feel like I come too strong, you know. And so I said, God, can you just help me sound a little bit softer? Let me know when to even when someone is coming and I'm like, and and something happens. And literally, I'm very calm all through the day. Nothing riles me up. Anyways, let's keep it moving. So, what are the things that I want us to, in the next 5 minutes, go into our topic for today? So, what are things that could possibly cause us to not grow in building our relationship with God, or stop us from really growing our relationship with God, or deter us from growing in our intimacy with God?
I think it can be unhealthy relationships,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to say this, and I don't know who this is for, but I'll say, like, you can be in a friendship with somebody for too long, and you even know for yourself that you don't have no business in that friendship no more.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not talking about boyfriend, girlfriend. I'm
Yeah.
just talking about regular friends. You know that friendship has expired. You know that you just know, and you didn't cut it off. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe that can leave you in stagnation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And, you know, God, am not saying God, I'm answering Peggy's question, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that God doesn't love you, but what I'm saying is sometimes us holding on to something that was supposed to be gone in the second season, we brought over from fall or
Mm-hmm.
spring or summer, we brought it into the next season when it expired in the other season. And when it expired, we wasn't supposed to go back and get it and bring it back. Sometimes those friends will even try to leave you because they start seeing something different in you. That something
Mm-hmm.
different is Jesus. But no, what do? You go get them and try to be super saver person, right? And, right? You don't turn into a superhero and now you're trying to go back. No, no,
Mm-hmm.
no, 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 no. Then you stuck and can't understand why you run around here like a chicken with your head cut off. Because guess what? You were supposed to leave that person back in February, and here it is November, and you're
Mm-hmm.
still doing the things that you were doing in February, and it's November, about to be December. Come on now.
Hmm. Okay.
But
True. True.
am I,
No, you are absolutely correct. Don't like, yeah, some things you are supposed to have left behind, leave them alone. Stop carrying them from one season to the other. Know when it's time to let go, let God, and move into the new season. And that's for all of us. Is to know when, what season we are in, what we need in that season, and what we do not need, and know how to deal with that. Absolutely. So that could actually deter you, and it could hold you back. It could hold you back from actually growing in your intimacy with God. And it says, as we behold Him as like in the mirror, we're being transformed into the very image of Him from glory to glory. So if you're not doing from glory to glory, you have to ask yourself, what is going on? What is going on? I think for me, sin, disobedience, because all of this ties into disobedience. Maybe God told you, okay, don't do this, let this person go, let this thing go. And you're like, I'm going to carry it like a bag. You carry it with you, disobedience, sin, all kinds of sin that we struggle with. And God is gradually asking you. And it's not funny that when we sin, we're the ones who actually run away. And God is like, I'm here waiting. Where you going? Remember when Adam ate the fruit, and they went and hid, and God was calling them? They were the ones who ran away from God. Remember that? They ran. God was literally going around the garden saying, Adam, where are you? Who? You? And he said, God, we hid when we heard your voice because we have disobeyed you.
Mhm.
So our sins actually causes us to run away from God's presence. It's not God that chases us away from His presence. So we're the ones who said, because of sin, I can't go to God just because of what that does to us. So sin can cause that. Another thing that could limit or disrupt our journey in our intimacy with God is lack of trust. If you do not believe, right? So in Hebrews 6, it says, but without faith, it is impossible to please God. For he who comes to God must believe that He is, and that He is a rewarder of those who diligently seek Him. And
Mhm.
the reward is that as you seek Him, there is no way you won't grow, right? So if you don't trust the words that you're hearing, if you don't believe, lack of belief, the things that you're reading, the things that he's telling you, you actually be limited in your growth and intimacy with God, because he's telling you, come up higher. You're like, huh? I don't think it's me. It's not me, oh, because maybe something. And you say, hey, come up higher, and you don't believe it, you're lacking faith. So that could disrupt, those are some of the things that can actually stop. So disobedience is one, like she said, God asks you to let go of things you're not letting go. Unforgiveness, lack of trust, and lack of belief, disbelief. Okay, so these are things that will disrupt your growth or your intimacy with God. But there's the other side that is so beautiful when it comes to intimacy with God, that we literally, myself and you, because we have experienced. And that's a topic we actually want to broach on today, which is the testimonies and miracles that have resulted from our intimate journey with God, right? And I wanted us to talk about it, about our experiences first, before we talk about some of the characters, some of our favorite characters in the Bible. Let's talk about what are some of the miracles you have, like, there are some it's just visible, there are some you're like, you literally are stopped on the spot and you're like, wait, oh my God, this was literally something God told me this morning, and here it is happening. That kind of experience. So have you had that kind of experience, and what did that look like? What brought about that, and what was that experience like?
So one of the experience I had was I was in Florida actually, and it had to do with put on this color, right?
Wow.
And we were going to a church. We weren't members of this church or anything, but I had to wear a certain color. So I put on a color. I'm just going to say like yellow. I don't remember the color at this time, but I wore the color and I dressed my kids and we went to this church. And at the end of the church, this lady came up to me. I didn't know her.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know her at all. And she said that God said that there would be a lady that came. The color that I have.
Wow.
I can't believe the Listen, she had a check for me. Okay. And I think it was like $300. But guess what? I had $0. So it seemed like it was like a lot, And I was just like, oh my gosh, like, like what's happening here?
Oh my God.
And it was like, I was at awe. I was like, this happened to me. Another time I was in New Jersey, and I had put something on hold, like on layaway, and I went to go get it. It was around the holiday time. And I went to go pay to get it. And the lady said zero balance. I said, no, I didn't pay for it. She said, zero. I said, I didn't pay for it. She said, ma'am, I can't charge you. It's already paid for. Somebody paid it. So she got but I didn't want her to think that I was like stealing, because I was like, I don't steal. Okay, lady. So I said, can you get your manager? The manager now comes over, and the manager is like, ma'am, somebody paid this off for you. And I was like, so are you saying I can walk out of this store? He said, ma'am, it's been paid in full. And I was like, God, I thank you. Like I was like, God, you surprising me. Right? So those are like, wow. Like I say, God wowed me.
That's beautiful. That's wow. Father, I need to get to the point where you say, Peggy, wear this color. I don't think I've had that one yet where he says wear this color so that he will see you. And I'd be like, I need that one. But
Peggy, to go somewhere and your bill is paid. And you know that you owe like $700 on the bill, and the bill is paid. Even me, for a few minutes, I was like, the bill is not paid. And I didn't want them to, I didn't want them to say I was stealing. I was like, I don't steal. I'm not no thief. I didn't pay for it. But God was like, why are you arguing with these people? It took the manager. Listen, I waited for the manager too.
Yes.
But that's what God does. He surprises us. When we're trying to
Absolutely.
figure out, should I tithe? Hello, somebody. Should I tithe? Should I sow this seed? Should I do this? Because if I do this, I won't be able to do that. So I said, I'm gonna trust you. God, I'm
Yeah.
gonna trust you. And he said, look what happened. And
Hmm.
things like that have happened to me over the years. And so for that, I said, God, and I don't see God's hand. I seek his face.
Hmm. That's deep. I don't see God's hand. Okay. You're just dropping bombshells here today.
No, I'm saying, like you do know, sometimes people always pray, well, God, if you bless me with a car, I'm gonna drive to church. God, if you put money in my account, I'm gonna tithe. God, if you give, I don't pray like that.
I remember one time, so 2-3 years ago, I had lost a job or resigned from a job anyways. And I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna do this, God. Like, I don't move to Texas. I don't want to. I need a job. I think I was just praying about it. And I was praying about where I wanted to go to because I think for some reason I had driven into the city of Philly and I saw a specific building in the entertainment industry. And in my mind, I had mentioned, oh, I'd like to work here someday. And it just went over my head. And when I was interviewing for the job that I had just resigned from, I had interviewed with them, the place that I said, oh, I'd like to work here one day. And I didn't hear anything from them, right? So this time around, I was just praying. And initially got an interview with them. No. Before the interview, I think I was praising. That was praising because usually what I do is sometimes when I get into a fix, I really don't pray. I just play praise songs. If you come to my home, you're gonna see me dancing like I'm crazy. Like, all those I twerk, I even twerk for God. I'm like, look, my waist, I'm gonna do all the crazy dance. You know when they said David danced like a madman? You're going to see me doing that because at that point, I don't even care what's going on. So I danced and danced and danced. I remember just sitting with God, just that intimate time. And he didn't say, he showed me. And then he said, what I saw was, as a daughter, I don't know who I've shared this with. When a daughter of a president, when you need something. So no, I saw in the picture vision was showing me was like the president of a country and his little daughter were walking on a red carpet, right? And he was just walking. People were by the side, people were everything, and he was just walking. And first of all, it felt like walking to a plane, but then he walked, and there was a door, and the door just opened. He walked through, and his daughter with him, holding his hand, walked through the door. And he said to me, this is exactly what's going to happen. When I open a door, you don't need to do anything because your father has walked through that door. You automatically will walk through the door.
Amen.
Guess what? I got called for the interview. 25 minutes of interview. That was it. It was supposed to be 2 rounds or 3. And when they finished, I didn't hear back from them. And I was waiting for the second round. And then I got a call and said, Peggy, they want you. I'm like, huh? He's like, yeah, they want you. And then she said, what's surprising is that they usually would have you meet the manager, then the director of the portfolio before you join the team. But for some reason, the director is not around. And even the testimony was the director, the first time was something there, And so God moved things out of the way for me. And I had that 25 minutes interview. I got the job. I got in there. And it was stressless job. Another time that I've experienced that miracles, like guys, we're talking about miracles that have resulted from our intimate journey, like intimacy with God. This is not where we are seeking his hand, is where we're seeking his face. Father, how do you want to do this? Show me how, where, what, rather than give me. We're saying, just show us your heart so we can go through you. I remember when I was very young, I think maybe 12, 13, 14, and I was in Nigeria then. My father was in the United States. And I remember one night, because as a young girl, I used to travel to minister, I used to travel to sing and dance. I danced when I was young. I used to do a lot of dance, acrobatics dancing. So I did all of that. And I remember one night, for some reason, I felt this heaviness, just this heaviness. And I was praying for my dad. I was just thanking God for my dad, thanking God for him, thanking God for him. And I was ministering, I think it was in Port Harcourt. We were there for a program and I was ministering there as a very young girl. And I remember just for some reason, and this was my core time of intimacy with God. I was like this with God because there were so many things happening, right? And I remember for some reason, as a young girl, I remember I was like maybe 13, 14, 15. I remember just praying, 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 and we were taking communion, right? The communion. And I started praying for my father, and I took the communion and I said, Father, as I drink this now, I didn't know what was happening where my dad was. I was just where I was, and I was praying for him. I said, God, as I take this communion, I tap where my dad is. That as I take it, he takes it and he's healed. Nothing is gonna happen. I was just praying for my dad and everything because I felt a certain heaviness to pray for him. And then, I saw the $100 bill that I had with me and just gave God money to say thank you and everything. Guess what? I think 2 days later, my father calls and says, oh, that sorry, he hasn't been in touch with us. He was in the hospital and he almost died. And I'm like, huh? And he says, yes, that he ate something that was expired, like over expired, and he was taken. Like the ambulance had to come to the house, take him to the hospital because he was at the breaks of life. And I was just looking at him. And I never told anyone. I was like, oh, this is what you, God, were telling me about. When I wasn't even there seeing all that. So these were some of the testimonies, like amongst many, right? These are signs and wonders. What about prophecy? What about the prophetic? When you're just ministering to somebody or when you're praying for someone, right? And God is just telling you things about the person. I have literally experienced this where I'm praying for somebody, praying. I suddenly am praying and I'm hearing things about this person and I'm praying. And maybe I go to them and I'm like, oh, how are you? And then they open up and they start telling you stuff. And you're like,
Yes, yes.
for real? Like the signs and wonders, God opening your eyes, God telling you things. He said, ask me and I will reveal to you the secret things of the world. Now, like, what about, has it ever happened to you that when you're praying for someone, it feels like you're actually seeing things about the person? And I mean, not be bad stuff, but you're literally praying about it. Ever happened to you?
God, so yes, but I want to say, like, I have a prayer partner. I know we all do, and I remember my prayer partner wasn't around. She had traveled, and at the time, I didn't know that it was my prayer partner that God gave me a word for, and my prayer partner was trusting God for the fruit of the womb, and so we were on a prayer call and I was just praying. And then the Lord used me and I said that this person was going to be over the age of 46. This person was blah, blah. And I was just going and going and going. And it wasn't until later on, I found out that my friend was pregnant with twins. Right. She has her two boys, Timolade and John, right? They have their boys now. Right. And so I was just like, wow. God, why? Like I know that this is not proper. I think God wows me. There has been times when someone told me that they understood a language that I was speaking when I was speaking in tongues. Right? Someone has told me that I was speaking. I may say it wrong. Okay, that I was speaking in Yoruba. And somebody told me I was speaking in Spanish.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
I promise you, I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I only know. I'm telling you. It was like full sentences.
Wow. Absolutely. Absolutely. These are there's so many testimonies. Oh my God, we can't recount them. Can we talk about when we're doing worship and you're just seeing stuff and you're like, oh, I remember one time, like, well, I've had so many instances, but I really remember one time. I think it was the second time I went for retreats, and the worship team were leading, and I remember started leading worship, and I opened my eyes, and it was as if I saw the host of heaven just, for, for lack of a better word, just flowing into the service. And
Mhm.
while I saw that, it was as if the atmosphere, something just happened, and people were screaming, jumping. Nobody was laying hands on anybody. We were just singing, we were just worshiping, and God, like, everything and anything happened on that day in that service, and I'm like, for real, God, what are you doing? And I had prayed, and I was so nervous about this kind of things, but I was really hungry for God's presence, and I had intimate time just talking to Him, and He had told me, I'm going to be there. And here's the thing: the testimonies of God sometimes is not going to show you the full picture of things. He wants you to believe Him and continue to work with Him. And I remember just praying, praying, praying. And I was like, okay, with the nervousness of leading worship, that I was just going to lead the worship. And I was going to sing the song He wanted me to sing. And you know we do this all the time. Um, I got there, and the weirdest song came, sang it, and I could open my eyes, and I was seeing things. I was literally seeing a lot. I'm like, God, are you for real? Are you for real? Are you for real? And everything was happening. And I remember till date, people still remember that song. And these are things that comes from, these are testimonies of intimacy with God, like things that happened on that day. Even till today, I'm sure a lot of people have not shared the testimonies, but so many testimonies came for myself, for people. And it's not once, it's not twice. Is it direction? Drive this way, don't drive this way, right? Is it don't say a word? Shh, close your mouth. Is it, when you go here, you're going to see this. When you go here, you're going to see this. When you go here, you're going to see this. And you're like, no?
Listen, I lead the morning devotion, and then
Mm-hmm,
this, like, so some people they remember my voice or my name,
mm-hmm.
and the lady said, you said my whole entire life,
Wow.
and I didn't know her. There was somebody that heard me pray at 9 p.m. prayer,
Hmm.
and they told me, like, how did you know that God wanted me to finish writing my book? And I was like, first of all, I don't even remember giving those
Mm,
words. That word resonated with those individuals because that word was for them.
mm,
Right. So I used to be like, God, am I supposed to remember other people's words? I'm underneath like a heavy anointing. I don't
mm.
remember those
Yeah.
things. Not only someone else comes back and tell me, but when you have intimacy with God, when you have that relationship with God, He just starts showing you stuff.
Hmm.
There's a scripture that says, out of my belly will flow rivers of living water, right? You are not excluded. God says you are included. And guess what? His benefits are all inclusive.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
for whoever who didn't catch that out there, his benefits, right? He has the best
Oh,
benefit package that you can get. You qualify.
hmm.
You just gotta follow the steps,
Hmm.
follow the
Wow.
process, right? Sometimes, like, it might look like it's not moving, right? Right. But there's a song that I like. It says, even when I don't see it, He's working.
Yes.
He never stops working.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what God is doing, but I can tell you that He's working it out
Mm-hmm.
for you. Maybe you couldn't go in there on Tuesday. Maybe that person wasn't in that office on Tuesday or in that courtroom on Tuesday, and they needed to reschedule your court case to Friday because the person that was going to give you the yes that you needed or the approval that you needed will be there on Friday. So sometimes
Mm-hmm.
we got to thank God for rearranging our schedule so we can be in alignment with the timing that He has for us.
Amen. Absolutely.
I think that the Lord is about to take me there, Jesus. We got
No,
grace.
absolutely. I love the fire because this is what intimacy with God does for us. It sets us ablaze. It brings about boldness. Boldness. Okay, so we've talked about our lives, we've talked about our experiences, we've talked about our stories, and this is not all encompassing because there's just if we start telling our stories that we won't live here even for the next, I don't know, 20 years. We'll have a lot to talk about, a lot to say. But I wanted us to explore some of the characters in the Bible. Some of that, when you had started your work with God, you were inspired by their intimacy journey and their journey with God, and just the wonders of the result of their intimacy with God. So, who or who are do you have any favorite? Or you said there are so many favorites. Tell me about one of your favorite characters in the Bible, about their intimacy with God, ones that you've explored, and what is it about it when it comes to their testimonies that really inspired you?
So for me, it's different seasons, right?
Mm,
Um, in some seasons, I'm married. I'm still learning. I'm learning from my Elizabeth, right? But
mm,
sometimes I'm an Elizabeth to someone else, right? I'm pouring into someone else, and I'm helping them navigate throughout those trials so they don't go through the same steps, right?
mm,
Maybe I'm a Barnabas, somebody who is encouraging people not to give up, right? And to hold on to
mm,
the word of God. Maybe, there were times when I was a Hannah. No, I wasn't barren. But what did Hannah deal with? She dealt with like rejection and judgment and shame and all of those different things. But she remembered that all she had to do was wait on,
mm,
on the Lord. Right. And she waited. So sometimes in those seasons where you felt like, there was a season in my life where I felt like I was getting rejected after rejection after rejection. But no, I just wasn't ready. Right. We don't win and lose. We win and learn. Right. We
mm,
win and learn. So there are many, like I want to be like David, the man that was after God's heart. Like he was after God's heart. Like I want to know what he smelled like. I want to be so close to him. I want, like the desires that David had, even though we know that David messed up so many times, he was like, God, I'm sorry, please. Like he still seeked after him.
yeah.
So, I know that, I know that you want to faith, but I don't want to say that I have faith. I think that it depends on the season of life that I'm in. And I think that right now I'm in a season to encourage people, to
Mm,
encourage them not to give up. So I think that I'm in Barnabas season. I'm in
mm,
that season to let people know that God loves them. I'm in
mm,
that season to share the gospel with
mm,
people, to go out and evangelize, to be that good friend, as well, that support, that mentor, that leader.
mm,
So I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm going to throw that question back to you because I don't want to sound all over the place, but I think that since the seasons change and different growth spurts happen,
mm,
I think that's where I am right now.
hmm. That's great. I think I like what you said about just different seasons and different characters that inspire you and really teach you about who to be in that season, and how to encourage people through that season, emulating the characters that you're reading about. For me, in this season is really, for some reason, I think I've mentioned this. I'm studying Gideon, the story
Mhm,
of Gideon in the
mhm,
Bible.
mhm.
And it's just amazing young man who came from the clan of Manasseh, Israelites. When the story just predates when Israelites, one story to the other, one God to the other. God will call them today, tomorrow they'll fall off. They'll follow different gods, and God, they just kept going back and forth with God, going back and forth with God. And I think after the time of Deborah, Israel had fallen off with God, followed other gods, and but God had given them over to the Midianites, I think. God had given them over to the Midianites, and then they started crying. It's when we get into trouble that we remember God. Meanwhile, when God is like, yo, watch your step, you're like, I got this. But once you fall into that ditch, that's when you remember God. And I think at that time, the kids, children of Israel, remembered that they had a God, and they were screaming about God. And God met Gideon and said, well, Gideon, I think, not I think, he met Gideon, I think, in threshing the fold or something. And Gideon was complaining and saying, if you are God, why did you allow us to go through all these things we're going through? Why are you allowing us go it? And Gideon said, okay, you with your armor, stand up and go and rescue the children of Israel. And he said, me like this, oh little me, oh little man, me. You know, when you study him, it's the way he saw himself. I remember this is a study I'm doing, is the way he's oh little me. I am from the clan of Manasseh. I am the least of the least. Like
the
my
bottom of the
family is,
barrel.
but I'm still the least. Remember David? He was part of Jesse's family, but he was the last. In fact, he was the outcast of the family. Gideon was that way. He was like the least of the least. Me. What do you say, me? And God says, yes, you. And he asked God for signs. He said, God, if you are the one, show me a sign that you are the one talking to me. And I think for this season, it's inspiring. It's really inspiring me. I'm going to tell you something I did over the week. I think something was happening, and I said, God, I never do this. I'm not the one to say, God, show me a sign. Or if you do move so that I'll know you, or move this window, or move this. I don't do that because sometimes I'm like, it's so silly, right?
So Peggy, you know what? I want to say this, and yes, it's going to be silly, and everybody's going to probably laugh at this. But I used to like date, and I was in a relationship before, right?
Mhm.
And I was like, God, show me a sign if I'm not supposed to be in this relationship. So then God came with the sign, right? So you know the story about the guy with the boat. I was the guy with the boat, right?
Uh-huh.
So then he would show me a sign. And then like one time, like it was stuff would flash on TV,
For real.
billboard, like it would be like a really big sign. And then I was like, but is it really a sign from you? I need another sign, please. I don't want that sign because this person just looks so good and smells so good. I don't
Yeah.
want that sign. Give me another sign. So,
And steady, I feel that some people know how to tell God, give me this sign. I was thinking through very logically, but this is so simple. It could happen anyways, even if God doesn't do it. These are things that scenarios can cause them to happen, situations can. So what sign am I going to ask you to give God? So I ended up not giving him. I think I asked him, have somebody call me, do something. And I think eventually I got a call, and it was just a sign that this. In fact, I even forgot what I told God to do. Anyways, back to Gideon's story, is that the fact that Gideon considered himself very small, but God used him to rescue the children of Israel, to deliver the children of Israel out of the hands of the Midianites. And it's the way God worked with him during that time. God had to convince him. God had to send him into the camp. God had to reduce the number of men that he wanted to use to go to battle, the size of things he thought he had. God reduced it from 30,000 to 300 men. And with those 300 men, they were able, God delivered the children of Israel with just 300 men. And after that, Gideon was like, oh me, little man. God, you used me. And he served God all through his life.
but then
So
he
that
had to
is,
overcome his fear.
he had
He
to.
had to overcome his fear, and then so like God showed him, and then that began to like break off all of the fear from maybe feeling less than and feeling
Lack
like
of
something,
confidence. Yes.
right? So he felt like, the lack of confidence, feeling like I'm nobody.
Mm-hmm.
And you want me to do something? Like, who am I? And then God says, you are who I am calling. I want you to do it.
Yes.
Right. So
Yes.
when God built him up and he removed that fear and he reassured him, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's when he was like, it's no stopping.
And see, the truth is, if you read about Gideon, God had to reassure him for each step, per step. God kept reassuring him that he was with him, was with him. So it's really speaking to me in this season, in this time of things God is actually asking me to do, and me following through with it, and still dragging my feet of not being sure. But it's the testimonies that I'm seeing that God eventually used Gideon, as little as it is, with the least clan he came from. God used him. This is a miracle. This is a miracle of intimacy with God, because he had to walk strongly with God in order for God to use him to deliver the children of Israel. And these are some of there's so many characters, guys, that you can read about. in the Bible that talks about different testimonies of walking with God, having intimate relationship with God, doing that journey with God. And you can read about them. There's Esther, there's Abraham, there's Daniel, there's David. Talk about like Jeremiah, talk about Paul, talk about Peter, talk about like there's so many people you can read. You just have to ask Holy Spirit, who am I supposed to be reading about in this season for me to be able to glean from their experience and encounter you? Therefore, right? Encounter testimonies from it. So, cause
But Peggy,
anything you want to say?
I want to say something because it just dropped on me. Maybe somebody is new and you're just learning about the Lord. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, there's different types of um, apps or different, like the Bible app, right? Where you can or you can like research, you can do some search. I know how to search up, and you can say like, I'm going through this, which Bible story fits or something like that. Put that whole thing in Google and it can give you a Bible character, or you can reach out to God Conversations and it can also help you to find out which Bible character or something that you are looking to study in this season, because we want you to know that it doesn't matter where you are in your walk with Christ, that God still has a word for you. He has a plan for you, and we want to help you develop those plans.
Absolutely. We are here for you. We're not born to do this work in isolation. We're born to do it as a family together. Like she said, we were doing the Bible study yesterday, and Sister Sonia said, one will conquer 1,000, two will conquer
yeah.
10,000.
Yeah.
So when we do it together, when you reach out and we walk with you, we walk with you, not to you, not any, like we do it together. Trust me, there's so much to glean and there's so much to gain from it. So we want to thank you for joining us in this great conversation. We are bringing and we have brought the series God Conversations, Intimacy with God series to a close. But before we end, Cuz, any last words from you? Like for today, not forever, but for today.
No, I want to say that in this week, everybody have an expectation to hear God's voice. I want you to have that expectation as you go deeper in His Word.
Yeah.
If you just have to start by reading the Lord's Prayer every day, start. It's okay. Read it, apply it, listen to the words, and let them meditate on your heart. And I know that the Lord will begin to reveal things to you. Nothing is too small for Him.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. And like she said, stay. Even if it doesn't feel like it. You wake up in the morning, you're like, I don't feel like this. Just stay. Continue. I've told myself that even if I wake up and I don't feel like, I'm just going to appear, right? Show up so that God can meet you in the same place. He can say, okay, I'm just there waiting for you. And what happens is as you build that daily, you begin to build power, you begin to build strength, and He will begin to show you the things you need to see in order to make your days count. Remember, what we're here to do is to show you, not just tell you alone, how to keep God at the center of everything that you do. So we pray that as you go into this week and as the year rounds up, stay in that intimate place with God and ask Him what He wants, because the year is not over. And if you feel like, oh, I've spent all this time and nothing is happening, and the end of the year is, the year is about to come to an end, or isn't at the end, and nothing seems to have happened. So what's the use? I encourage you to stay. Stay. Don't give up. Stay and say, God, I'm just here. Show me, show up. And you will experience testimonies from that intimacy with God. So I ask that you have a great week, a great day. Thank you for joining us. Bye, everyone.